One of the things is not falling too in love or feeling too precious about the material that you create, but really being open and willing to find and bold enough and brave enough to find the very best version of the story. And that requires.
When you were actively reading screenplays, how hard was it for you to find a great screenplay?
It's always a challenge. It's funny. I just had lunch on the weekend with an executive producer of a very popular TV series, and he reminds me that we met back in he was quoting me from 1989. Like, who remembers that far back? And the thing one of the things he remembered was me saying, I feel lucky if 1 out of 100 gets me really excited. And I think that's fair. I don't know if that's mathematically true, but it seems like that's the case. And it's not always because the quality is not there, or it's not always about the caliber of the writing. It's oftentimes because, for example, me as a consumer and as a producer, I'm probably not the right guy to write, or to produce a big sci-fi movie, or certain other kinds of fare. There are certain kinds of interactions or stories that really appeal to me, and many that don't. But I'm always writing to see how talented someone is, like what kind of storyteller are they. But yeah, I would say personally, I've never been a volume producer. I've always been pretty fussy. But I would say if I find 1 out of 100 that's worth having a conversation to see if there's a there, if we get along, if we agree about the vision for the project, if it's something we want to roll up our sleeves on together, it's probably about 1%.
And that was going to be my next question. Do you think that we often hear that 99% of screenplays written are horrible? What's your experience?
Oh, gosh. That's really hard to say. 99% of screenplays written, and that's a big pool. Usually by the time there's sort of a natural evolution. So I'm really not taking scripts off the internet, or I'm not posting on public forums saying, send me your script. So I don't know what the bigger ocean of opportunity looks like. I usually get scripts sent to me through people who are either writers that I know, their representatives, their attorney, their friend, someone in the business, a producer, another producer might want to share something with me. Horrible is a horrible word. Certainly there are those that I read where I go, gosh, this is way off the mark. I really want to root, just like for a movie, same for a screenplay. I am that guy who I'm rooting for the writer. I'm rooting for the story. I want to love this. If I read something that's so poorly written that I just can't get through the whole of it, that's as disappointing as it is, like, okay, so it's not for me, that's fine. But it's disappointing. I want that to be better. I want that person to be better, at their craft.
What do you think 99% of screenplays get wrong?
Wow, great question. I don't know if there's a sort of that ubiquitous one thing that they all get wrong. I just think that one of the things I would like to see more writers have sort of a more systematic reality check system, inner circle system, so that at a given point in time, if they feel it's ready for prime time, they really have a trusted group of, not friends and family, but seasoned people in the business who know their stuff and how to read a script and get the feedback. I always do that to this day. I know that we get so close, our face is pressed up against the glass. We've been working on something for 7 or 12 or whatever number of rewrites, and we lose perspective. And if I were to give it to you and 4 other people, and you all come back with one similar comment, I know that I have a real issue that I've overlooked. If all 5 of you come back with criticisms, but they're all different, that's a win. It's like, okay, now I can pick and choose which ones make sense, which ones do in my gut I really feel enhance the story. So I think one of the things is not falling too in love or feeling too precious about the material that you create, but really being open and willing to find and bold enough and brave enough to find the very best version of the story. And that requires, I hear a lot of writers talk about, well, I really don't want to change it that much. It's no, this is, that's, be a painter, be a sculptor, write a novel. This is a medium that's designed for collaboration. And I think you need to take that as an asset, as a positive, and invite it, because it's going to happen eventually.
How many pages into a screenplay before you know it's a bad screenplay?
Not long. There are many, and I sort of agree. If someone doesn't grab me somehow in the first 3 pages with the quality of their craft or something that's surprising in a good way, that's what I'm hoping for. Someone really putting a hook in my mouth. But 10 pages in, easily 15 pages in, you sort of see the caliber of the writing, the quality of the craft. It's not likely that the actual quality of the writing is going to shift on page 30 or 60.
When you sat down to read 3000, later to be called Pretty Woman, where were you?
I was I owned a home in West Hollywood. It was this absolutely charming 1920s bungalow-style, classic Hollywood bungalow, right? All sunlight, beautiful yard, the whole thing. And I had a room that was just like my reading room. It was a small, like, sunroom. And yeah, that's where I did most of my reading at night and on the weekend. And yeah, I liked to read at home as opposed to, say, at the office.
So it was a Friday night, and you
I don't remember what day of the week it might have been. Mm-hmm. All I can tell you is I was waiting with great anticipation. I had very high hopes because I was so admiring of Jonathan and what I knew of him as a person, but certainly what I'd seen on the page. And the only question was, could he really sort of jump it up to that level of maturity? And I promise you, the moment he delivered it to me, I probably, at that moment, wherever I was, turned off the phone, if we had phones that turned off, whatever, metaphorically. And it was like, okay, this is the most important thing I have to do this week. I'm going to go home and read this.
And so 3 pages in, you're loving it, 5 pages in. Were you waiting for the other shoe to drop where you had notes and you thought this isn't, or you?
No, the thing about, no, I don't go into it with that sort of lens. I'm not looking for what's wrong. It's just not my way. When someone grabs me from the beginning, which he did, when it's not heavy-handed, it's just right. When that happens and I'm engrossed and I'm invited into this and he's got me, right? Until he stops getting me, I'm not operating from here, right? And that was, from cover to cover, that was my experience. I never really intellectually assessed the script. That's why I was so excited about it, because if I didn't, I figure a lot of other people won't, that they'll have an experience somewhat similar to mine, where they're so engrossed in the characters and the way it plays out in the dialogue and all those other supporting roles and the friendships and the tensions and whatnot, that they're going to swim through the script the same way I did. And that's what I pray for. It's like, that's the win.
Any tips you can give screenwriters that would immediately improve their screenplays, especially in those first few pages?
I don't think there's any sage guidance that I have other than to recognize what you just said, which is the opening of your script is so important. You really want to set the table right up front. Let people know what you're inviting them into. I've seen scripts that start out with like a page and a half or 2 pages of single-spaced narrative description. Not a good way to start a screenplay, to make us do that much work to get to our characters or the action. So I would say, really take absolute advantage. And, we're in the entertainment business. Entertain me starting from the first moment. But other than that, I don't think, every story is so uniquely different, not just because of the conventions of the various genres, but just the storytellers are different, and I can't think of, it's really, yeah, never mind, I'm rambling. It's just the recognition that you bring up in by way of your question.